In this video, we're going to go over reading in files, so file input. In our last video, we went over writing to files. And you'll recall, if you watched the last video, we built this text file that looks like this. So it just has a bunch of kind of random stuff in here. And so now we're going to go over how we might read this file in and do things with it. Okay, so here's my file right here. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to create a new scanner. Okay, so there's an object built into Java called scanner. So we'll call it SC. And what we're going to pass into this constructor is a new file object. So this is going to be the name of the file that we want to open. So in this case, we have our file here called foo.txt. So we're going to just do foo.txt. And again, depending on where this is saved, you might have to put in the full path to this file, but since it's in the same directory as our program here, we can just put it in without any path information. Okay, so in order to use the scanner class, we have to import java.util.star. Okay, and so now that we've done this, we should be able to compile. Okay, and when we try to, it says, oh, we've got an unreported exception, file not found exception. Okay, so we need to go ahead and put this in a try catch to make sure that we handle the exception. So let's go ahead and do that. Catch file not found exception E. Okay, and we'll do J option pane dot show message dialog. File not found. Okay. All right, so now if we compile that, all right, it compiles. Okay. So now that we have this scanner object, what we're going to do is we can call, there are these methods called like next line, okay? There's also next int, next double, okay? So it kind of depends on what's in your file, okay? So for text files, we're reasonably safe with next line. So let's go ahead and do this, okay? So we will do string s equals sc.nextLine, okay? And just to prove that something actually happens, let's go ahead and show all right, so we'll say first line of file is plus s. Okay, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to read the very first line from the file. We're going to store it in this variable string, and then we're going to just pop up a message displaying what that is. Okay, so if we compile and run, we see that the first line of the file is you are a monkey. And sure enough, if we go back to our file here, we see that yes, it is indeed you are a monkey. Okay, and so now if we were to do this again, okay, we do s equals sc.nextLine. Okay. Then we could say, all right, in this case, we'll say next line. Okay, so now when we run it, we get a pop-up saying the first line of the file is you are a monkey. And the next line of the file is you are a goose, which again, if we go back to our file, that's exactly what we would expect. Okay, and we could just keep on doing this forever. All right, until we've read in all of the lines of our file. Okay, so what we can do is rather than just have to put in, 15 or 20 lines of code here with all these next line, we can write a loop to handle this. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So the way that you want to do a loop, I'm going to copy all, or I'll comment all of this out. Okay, so we're going to do string s, we'll set it equal to null, okay? And actually, we don't even really need to do that. So this is what we'll do. We'll say while sc.hasNextLine. Okay? So there's a method in the scanner class called hasNextLine that says, hey, is there a next line or not? So in other words, this is going to keep looping until it gets down to here, and then it says, oh, nope, there isn't a next line, because I'm all out of lines, and then it will exit the loop. Okay, and so while it has a next line, then we can do string s equals sc dot next line. Okay, and we can and we'll just do this plus s. Okay. So basically, this is going to just, each line through the file, it's going to pop up another dialog box saying that I've got the line, okay? So if I go ahead and compile this and run it, now you'll see, line, you are a monkey. Line, you are a goose. Line 4, 0, you are weird. 1, you are weird. Okay, so it's going to go through, and as soon as I get to the last line, it's going to exit out. Okay? So that's how you can use a loop to process the entire file. Now, maybe you don't necessarily want to process the file line by line. Maybe you want to process it what's called token by token, okay? Well, so if that's the case, I'll tell you what, before I do this, I'm going to change this from a show message dialog to just a system.out.println. So we can just see it a little bit easier. So we'll do line. All right. So now when I compile and run this, instead of printing out all, or instead of popping up all those messages, you can see it's just printing it out here to the console. Okay. And the reason that I wanted to do that was to show you this. Okay. If I now comment out this whole thing, okay, and instead of doing hasNextLine, I do while sc.hasNext. Okay, there's a different method called just hasNext. Okay, then I can do string s equals sc.next. Okay, and it's just next. Okay, not next token, not next line, next boolean, none of that. Okay, and so then I will do system.out.println. We'll say just next. Okay. All right, now I want you to see the difference when I use hasNext versus hasNextLine. Okay, so if I compile this, okay, oops, I need a semicolon here. Okay, now when I did the hasNextLine, okay, if we go back and review, we see that, where is it? Oh, okay, well, I don't know what, oh, these are the compile messages, it's over here. Okay, so you see that for each line in the file, it just prints out a line saying what that is, all right? Now, this is going to be different for when we execute this, okay? So for now, with this hasNext, basically you'll see what it's doing is it's getting, so it starts with U, and then R, A, monkey. So it's like getting one word at a time, okay? So basically what this hasNext is doing is it's splitting on the white space, okay? So in here, it's going to say, all right, the first thing is U, and then R, and then A, and then monkey, and then U, R, A, goose. When it gets down to here, it says, okay, I'm going to take 0, comma as one thing. All right, and you'll see down here, see where it has the 0, comma, and then U, R, weird, and then it goes through and gets it kind of one item at a time, and it's splitting it based on where there's white space. So either like a new line or a space. Okay. And so that's what the hasNext does. Okay. Now suppose that you had okay, I guess one thing to point out is that in both of these examples, I'm dealing with strings. Okay. So if I have data that's formatted a different way, like maybe I have a whole bunch of numerical data, it might be desirable rather than to read them all in as strings and then converting them with, double.parseDouble or integer.parseInt. Okay, the scanner class actually has methods that let you deal with that. Okay, so for example, suppose, all right, I'm going to create a new text file here. So we'll just do plain text. And maybe in this one, I'm just going to have nothing but numbers. Okay, like this: 12, 3, 4, 6, 7, 98. 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. Okay, so you see, now I have this text file here that has just, all it is numbers. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save this. We will call this numbers.txt. Okay, so you see, now I have this numbers.txt here. All right, so what I'm going to do now is, instead of doing this has next and this has next line, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a different loop. Oh, I need to change this from foo.txt to numbers.txt, okay? And I'm going to say while sc.hasNextInt, okay? So in other words, I'm going to depend on the fact that my input file has only integers in there, okay? So as long as it's got integers, then I'm going to do int a equals sc.nextInt, like this, okay? And then I can do system.out.println integer plus a, okay? So if I compile, all right, and run, you see that it goes through and it pulls out all the integers, okay? And now the nice thing is that because I have them as integers, I could do some kind of calculation if I wanted to. So maybe I want to calculate the average or the sum, all right? Well, so that's easy enough to do. I can say int sum equals 0, int count equals 0. So at each time through the loop, I could just do sum plus equals a, and I could do count plus plus. And then when I get to the end, okay, I could say system.out.println sum colon plus sum, and then we'll do double average equals sum divided by count, system.out.println average plus average, okay? So, should be able to compile this, okay? And when I run it, you see that it goes through and it calculates the sum is 289 and the average is 19, okay? So, again, there's different ways of handling the data in the file. You can do it one line at a time with this has next line. You can do it one token, they call it, at a time, where you're basically splitting on the white space. If you know that your data is of a particular format, you can use this way of doing it, okay? Oftentimes what you'll see in practice is people doing it one line at a time, and then they use the parsing functions like double.parseDouble or the string functions where you're splitting on things to process one line at a time, okay? So at any rate, that is how to read in files in a nutshell.